What up? What up? What up? Happy Wednesday. Oh, what I'm talking about? Happy Wednesday. Happy Monday. Mic check. Monday. Mic check. 1 2 1 2. We got Mad Max in here early, talking crazy early. Talking about the Lotto project was weak. Benny's joint was weak. Mad Max, what did you think about that new LL song with Sweetie, Purple Active? We're gonna talk about that in a second. We're gonna talk about Snoop being an ambassador for the Olympics. The fact that we got a Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre performance last night. And we're gonna get the Olympics in Los Angeles, man. It's gonna be West in 2020, 2018, 2020, 2028. Sounds so far away. I want to talk about Jay-Z being able to take on or take over ownership of Reasonable Doubt in 2031. Speaking of the future, Wayne being the greatest rapper ever, according to Juvenile. I want to speak on that a little bit. And, I know the title says something different because my man Ron made the title of Drake Checkmate. But I want to speak on, are people finally tired of Drake? Because, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the gigabytes and all those things too. First things first, though, shout out to everybody coming in the room. Thumbs up in the chat, man. We're going to really have some real talk today, man. I want to clarify some of my Killer Mike statements too. But first things first, man, shout out to Snoop Dogg, who I think was the overall winner of these Olympics. Now, granted, America won the Olympics, but Snoop Dogg was the star of all stars at the Olympics. Now, this confirms what I've always said on this channel. Snoop Dogg is the biggest hip-hop star that we've ever seen. And he took it to a global stage. He took it to a worldwide stage. That's always the test, right? When Michael Jordan went to the Olympics in 92, they tested his global iconic abilities, and he took his brand and himself to the next level at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona with the Dream Team. Same thing with Kobe. What was that? 08, I want to say. No. What Olympics was that? Was that 12, 10, something like? Anyway, when he went to, it was in China, I believe. I should have fact checked this before I got on, but yes. Kobe was able to do that as well. We're seeing LeBron doing that in this Olympics and previous Olympics as well as LeBron James. And shout out to that team, man, the U.S. men's team. Steph Curry went crazy at the end, solidifying the fact that, it's no question he's the greatest shooter of all time, but he showed on a global stage that when it comes to shooting that three, he's the reason why the game has changed. But yes, back to Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg showed the whole world that he is hip-hop's biggest star, and not only hip-hop's biggest star, he's one of the biggest stars that we have in entertainment, period. He's changed his brand. He's proven that he continuously perform. He can continuously perform the older hits. He got new music that comes out, and he's just an overall personality. He meshes with every walk of life. So shout out to Snoop Dogg, man. I want to say this before I talk about, the breakdancing competition that happened. First of all, did anybody see the breakdancing in the Olympics? I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. Thumbs up in the chat, man, and thumbs up in the chat if you saw the breakdancing Olympics. Oh my God! But anyway, Snoop has a level of star power that numbers can't quantify. Does Eminem have more numbers than Snoop? Sure, but can Eminem be the star on the stage that Snoop is? Hell no. And there's a reason why in that performance last night when it was Dre and Snoop, because Dre and Snoop is the formula, Eminem musically is not big enough for that stage. And I know a lot of Eminem fans are going to sit here and say, oh, Mike, why are you talking about Eminem, blah, blah, blah. But again, this is an example of numbers not telling the whole story. Jay lied to us all when he said numbers never lie. Numbers lie all the time. They do it on ESPN all the time. People use certain stats and certain statistics and certain frames in those statistics to make their argument. But Eminem's overall numbers, he could stream however they want, or however many they want, however number ones he want. He will never be the star that Snoop Dogg is. And this Olympic stage proved that. Could you close your eyes and see any personality in hip-hop being able to accomplish what Snoop accomplished this weekend or these past 3 weeks? I can't. And we got a lot of great stars that have come through this genre. And honestly, no one's close when it comes to that level of star power. I think back in the day, um, around 93 when they both came out, I would always say Method Man's star power rivaled Snoop, almost like an East Coast version of Snoop. You're able to stand out in a crew like Wu-Tang and be a front man of a group that's that talented with that many personalities. You got to take a big room. You got to be a big, big star. And Method Man is a big, big star. But Snoop Dogg is actually something else on every level. I can't really, I think Jay-Z is a huge star in hip hop in a different way. LL Cool J is a huge star in hip hop in a different way. But Snoop is just a household name. He's a household personality. He is ageless in that sense. Young people rock with him, older people rock with him. We literally saw Snoop Dogg go from a teenager to a gray-haired grandfather. Like, that shit is amazing. Now, for anybody that says that Tupac outshined Snoop, yes, there was a period where Tupac outshined Snoop for sure. And when you put Tupac in the fold, we're talking about possibly the most influential rap artist of all time. There's not many people, if anybody, who has the effect on the game that Tupac has. But even with that being said, in 1993, Tupac wasn't bigger than Snoop in 93. Tupac wasn't even bigger than Snoop in 94. In 95, those tides start changing. So if we want to be perfectly honest here, and let's just say star power while they were living, right? Snoop had 93. Shit, we could say 92 really, but we'll be fair. And let's just say 93 because the Chronic carrying over to Doggy Style, because Doggy Style is late 93. The Chronic is December of 92. So let's give Snoop 93. Snoop gets 94. 95, we'll give Pac that, and we'll give Pac 96. They're pretty much even if you want to do that. You know what I mean? And again, when you're talking about Snoop Dogg, you're talking about Tupac, those are big, big shoes. So, yeah, do you guys think that, you know what? Let's keep it on a level playing field here, right? Tupac outshined Snoop musically because, after Doggy Style, Snoop kind of hit a skid, right? Until the late 90s, if we want to be perfectly honest. But let's look at it like this. Who do you guys think was the shining individual on Two of America's Most? Because I'm not having revisionist history here. Pac did his thing on there, and I think Pac might have the better verses, even though I think they're very, very even on that song. But from a star power standpoint, Snoop with the perm in the courtroom with the hat, and my dream is to own a fly casino like Bugsy Siegel and do it all legal and get scooped up by the little homie in the Regal. I know back then when I was looking at the video, if we're looking from a star power standpoint, I thought that was Snoop. On America's Most, to be perfectly honest, like it's like Cub, Blood, Gang Bang, and everybody in the hood doing dope singing. You gotta have papers in this world. You might get your first before your eyes swear. Yeah. If we're talking about just that video and that individual song, and if I'm jumping in from outer space and I'm looking at that and I'm like, who's the bigger star here? I'm probably going to say Snoop, to be perfectly honest. But I will give you guys Pac having the star power in 95 and 90. I'm sorry, 90. Yeah, 95 and 96. Because then we're factoring in film and all of those things as well. But saying all that to say, Snoop was able to carry over this level of star power over a 30 plus year span. And so as much as I love Pac and as much as I think that Pac is the biggest hip hop artist, or the most influential hip hop artist ever, I would have to give Snoop that nod on the star power level because he was able to maintain that star power for 30 plus years. And it's a household name. And for the people, y'all think that I'm not even going to read that comment. Thumbs up in the chat. Thumbs up in the chat. But yes, I'm saying all these things to say about Snoop that the numbers don't really tell the story. He's not the most. He hadn't sold the most. But if you want to talk about the star power up against the people that he didn't sell as many records as, he's a bigger star than them. And we gotta tilt our hat to him. And on top of that, with the exception of Tupac, I think Snoop Dogg would beat anybody in hip hop in a versus, and that's Jay-Z included. When I saw him go out there and do a versus against DMX, rest in peace to DMX, I knew even before it happened, X's catalog, he was out of his league for Snoop's catalog. And I know people jumped on what's his name? Shoot. I'm having a live moment. It'll come to me in a minute. Skills, Mad Skills. People jumped on Mad Skills on Twitter when he went out there and said that Snoop, was hip hop's biggest star and had the best catalog and this and that. And then people started talking about Snoop's album catalog, but like Skills said, it's not about the album catalog. We're talking about song for song. It's very difficult for anybody in any era to be able to compete with Snoop's catalog. And DMX saw that night. It was very, very tough. Once them Dr. Dre records hit, I mean, it's over. When I heard Slip and Get Blown Away by Murder Was the Case, I was like, man, this man catalog is different. And what's different about Snoop too, and shout out to him being a DJ as well, Snoop understands his catalog. He's not one of those guys that is just going to play what he personally likes. He understands what gets people going. He understands where the strong parts in his catalog are. And he's going to go there. And he went there that night. And I think he was really, man, he was really being nice to X too. On top of that, he gave him some gimmies and still it was a blowout. And this is DMX. This is somebody who was a top 20 MC in my opinion. And if we talk about X at his height and some of the music that he made at his height, it's some of the best hip hop music ever made by an individual MC. So he's no slouch. It's not a lot of people. I love the Snoop pick right there. Not a lot of people, in my opinion. I think Tupac's the only one that could probably beat Snoop in the verses. And I think that's because Snoop has that balance of a catalog when it comes to his subject matter. And he has the hits. And when you look at what Tupac's catalog was able to accomplish, he handled and conquered pretty much every spectrum of the gambit. That's what makes him special. The only thing Pac didn't do for some hip hop fans is the lyrical miracle stuff. And, and when you look at Pac's career and who he is and what he accomplished and how well his music has aged, how important is the lyrical miracle stuff? You know what I mean? Like, who is the best lyrical miracle MC who is held the highest, I guess? And I don't count Eminem. That's something else. But again, we saw that Eminem, he's not able to take up the space that Snoop is able to take up, and even with all the records that he has sold. So I do want to clarify before I get into this Jay-Z topic, and I think this Jay-Z topic is Leroy, you think Jay is a lyrical miracle MC? I don't think Jay is a lyrical miracle MC. I think Jay is anything that he needs to be whenever he needs to be it. And that takes a lot of talent to be able to do that. Yeah, Jay, if Jay was lyrical miracle, he never would have crossed over. He understood that. So he had to change up what he was doing so that, he could get massive success. If he was lyrical miracle, he would have made more albums that were like Reasonable Doubt. And I don't even think Reasonable Doubt's lyrical miracles because Reasonable Doubt still has the ain't no nigga moments. Like, lyrical miracle MCs ain't got those moments. Lyrical miracle MCs can't knock the hustle. Even though he's on there like spitting for real, like y'all niggas munching, punching the clock. My function is to make munching, lay back munching, living, sipping, rimming on the rocks. My crew, nothing to watch, nothing to stop. Unstoppable. I gotta hot your crew. Gotta let you niggas know the time like Movado, stack like rocks like Colorado. Yeah, but he can rhyme, but that doesn't make him lyrical miracle. But who saw the breakdancing competition before I get into my somewhat Killer Mike soliloquy? Who saw the breakdancing competition, and what were you guys' thoughts on this breakdancing competition? Because with hip hop officially I guess from a historical standpoint and from a historian standpoint, officially turning 51 yesterday, marking the DJ Kool Herc Back to School Jam that happened in 1973, August 11th. I think that it was a long time coming for something like the breakdancing competition, but no, I don't just listen to Jay's singles. That's not true. Don't do that still here. I'm a person that is a firm believer. I'm not gonna let you throw me off course here. I'm a person that's a firm believer that Jay's non-singles are his best songs. But Jay's success comes from the singles. So I'm going to speak on the singles because when people speak on him, they speak on his success, whether that be his financial success or whether that be his record sales success. And it sure wasn't Can I Live that sold those records. So I got to be balanced in the conversation. Web visibility with the super chat says, if skills sold, truthfully, I'd probably be lyrically Talib Kweli. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't been rhyming like common sense. He said these things. He notoriously said these things. So we're going to hold him to those words. And that's okay. He made a conscious decision to not be lyrical miracle. And he just told you this in this bar. Let me read this again from Web Visibility Super Chat. If I sold, the truth be told, I'd probably be lyrically, if skills sold, I apologize. If skills sold, truth be told, I'd probably lyrically be Talib Kweli. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I did 5 mil. I ain't rhyming like common sense. And to me, I always thought that was a diss towards, Talib and Common, but whatever, I know people that want no smoke with Jay. I get that. Anyway, breakdancing competition. And I'm gonna get on Jay. And we're gonna talk Killer Mike, we're gonna talk Jay, and we're gonna get into this Wayne thing, and we're gonna talk Drake and all that too. The breakdancing competition was cringeworthy, it was awful, it was disgraceful. I want to know where qualifying is, excuse me. How do you qualify? How they actually found or chose the people who were going to represent America. I don't know about the other countries, whatever, but America specifically, because America is where hip hop was born. Hip hop was born in the Bronx and surrounding areas. Those are conversations that are being had now. But in the New York tri-state area, and even if we talk about LA out there, breakdancing was very prevalent. And that's where this whole thing was created. So I'm going to speak on America's team. And the people that they have represent America, I just want to know how they got to that equation. We've all seen great breakdancers. We all seen great breakdancing competitions. I know Red Bull had a lot to do with this team because they do a lot of their breakdancing competitions as well. But I didn't really hear hip hop speak too much about this breakdancing competition being in the Olympics. It should be a big deal because breakdancing, for those that don't know, is one of the 5 elements of hip hop: MCing, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, bebop knowledge, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Some people say bebop knowledge, whatever. But breakdancing is definitely one of the elements. And for hip hop to not speak on that, to me, especially certain key people in hip hop, it lets me know that the credibility is not yet there for that event. The beat breaks they were using were extremely generic. I felt like for how big the World Games are and how big it is for hip hop to be a part of the Olympics in this facet, and one of the primary elements of hip hop being a part of the Olympics in this facet, I thought that the Olympics could have gotten, some hip hop producer or producers involved to actually create a real soundscape for these competitions, even licensing. I don't understand how we couldn't get the licensing for some of the classic B-boy records. Man, I seen way better breakdancing on Breaking, man. Like, I seen way better breakdancing in the 80s. And I'm not trying to be funny. I see what they were trying to do here, but I think the wrong individuals represented all around. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing was disrespectful. I agree. It was a shit show, for lack of a better term, and it didn't have to be. And see, the thing is, you could tell who is putting certain things on. You could tell when certain things are watered down. Hip hop is not supposed to be watered down. Hip hop is not safe, whether that be, safe for for your family television set, or whether that be safe from a creative standpoint. Hip hop takes chances. You have to get the rawest people out there, and it's no excuse for an event like this to fall flat, because hip hop being the most influential genre out there and the number one selling genre in the world, how did nobody really check for this and get behind this? And how did we not get the best of the best in this? Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Asians are a major reason why breaking culture is still alive. Similar to how jazz is supported by white folks, both are genres created by black folks, but they've been abandoned by us. We don't support it. Michael Williams with the super chat says, who is the king of subliminals, Jay or Big? I'm gonna have to get that to Jay, closely followed by Drake, and then maybe Big from there. Okay. I want to address what Jermaine said, because I think that is facts there. I think what Black Americans do specifically is we're continuously creating, and once we get tired of something, it seems that other cultures pick it up and somewhat keep it alive, but we move on to something else and say, okay, well, we ain't breakdancing no more. We're doing this, or we're not wearing it. Look at fashion. Look at hip hop fashion. That right there tells the tale of how Black American culture rocks. We'll be rocking jerseys, right? We'll be rocking, headbands. We'll be rocking, and then we'll be like, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. We're gonna button it up. Baggy jeans, not doing that no more. We're wearing this. And see, we abandon those things and move on, and it's a creator thing. It's like an artist, or it's like Pharrell has this interview that he did with he was doing an interview with Q-Tip. He was supposed to be interviewing Q-Tip, but Q-Tip started asking him questions. And he was like, well, why did you guys abandon that sound that you guys had, the Neptunes in the early 2000s, and some of those instruments? And Pharrell said he felt like he did everything that he could do with those sounds, and he wanted to creatively do something new. And that's the mentality. Like, we're like, okay, breakdancing was dope. We started that, but now it's time to start something new. And any artist would do that. I mean, we've seen artists do that all across the gambit, especially Black American artists. And it's a catch-22, and it's a double-edged sword, because when you do that, sometimes other people pick up on something that you did before and maximize it. And the question here is, did we maximize breakdancing? But my thing is, if it becomes an event, and I got to give credit to, the Asian culture and, the Hispanic culture that did keep breakdancing alive to get it to the point where it was going to be in the Olympics. If we jump back in there at that time, is that justified? Or is it one of those things that we feel like we can jump back in and really compete with the people who have continuously kept it alive? But that's why I need to see where the qualifying happened, so that we could see, if we could compete, or if those people who we feel like we seen on the corner in the subway in New York should actually be out there on the Olympics. Because I'm hearing my people up top like, man, I see people in the subway all the time that could have won that competition. I saw the person that won. I ain't gonna lie, man, I wasn't impressed. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to denigrate or anything, but it questions, who are the judges? How are they judging this? And how did the people who were qualifying to be in the Olympics and get a gold medal for this, how did they get to this point? Did hip hop co-sign this on any level? Did any of the original B-boys who are still alive, many of them, or any of the original breakdancers co-sign any of this stuff? Or the people who innovated it? Now, who are the people that kept breakdancing alive? We need to know. Mad Max in the super chat says hip hop been watered down since M, Ye, and Wayne. Mad Max also says, LOL, then Dot watered it down further. You feel like Kendrick watered down hip hop? You know, last week, yeah, we are still, yeah, Mad Max is right. We are still breakdancing. Now, are we getting the platforms? And when I say we, I mean people who look like me. Black Americans are still breakdancing. Now, we might not be breakdancing at large to the level that we were in the early 80s, but there's still some out there. And I want to know if we need to kind of have that big three challenge. Like when Ice Cube just had that big three challenge, he said, look, I'll put my big three all-stars up against the Olympic gold medal big three team, or, you know, 3-on-3 team or whatnot. I want to know if we got a breakdancing team out of New York or wherever, LA, wherever they breaking heavy, would they beat the actual gold medalists that won in these Olympics? I think that challenge needs to be out there, because you know what? B-boying is all about challenging and battling. So if you want a gold medal, and you should be willing to go out there and break battle anybody. Just like, you know, Sha'Carri Richardson's relay team. They're the fastest women in the world as far as the relay team goes. They should be able to line up against anybody, right? And win. That's what the Olympics are. So I think that challenge should be put out there, because I kind of question how we got to this point. And how did we get these individuals actually in the Olympics representing? I mean, let's just keep it real. Representing hip hop. If you're representing the breakdancing gold medal, the first breakdancing gold medal, you representing hip hop. And you guys in the chat probably don't even know who these people's names are, because I don't. Now, last week, we jumped on Rumble, and follow According to Hip Hop on Rumble for sure, because we're going to be doing a lot of things there. We're just trying to work out the kinks and actually get the music going, and you know, really jam out, especially when we need to have these music debates or when we need to play some new music. We want that to be the platform that we can do that on, because YouTube trips about copyrights in ways that Rumble actually doesn't yet. Anyway, we went on Rumble last week. We played To Pimp a Butterfly. I will admit, To Pimp a Butterfly is a different kind of album. It's a quality album. It's well put together. Kendrick is spitting on there. But as far as like putting it up there with the all-time great albums, it's a little difficult because it doesn't hit hard from jump, right? It takes time to build up. It's a slow burn, you know, and when I was listening to it with the group of you guys, the ones that followed over to Rumble, and shout out to y'all that followed us over on Rumble to listen. Yeah, it was like, okay, this is an album you listen to by yourself, or you listen to, you know what I'm saying, when you're in your house chilling, or it's not an all-purpose album. And I have to ask myself, for all the great all-purpose hip-hop albums there are out there, how can I rank this super high if it doesn't hit all of those marks? The single's not that strong. Super Duper said apology accepted. Look, man, I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. I look at To Pimp a Butterfly from a quality standpoint, and I kind of look, I'm gonna be honest, I look at it from a nerd standpoint. I'm looking at it from a musicality standpoint. I'm looking at it, you know, from a creative standpoint. I'm a person that likes Electric Circus by Common. So it's one of those albums that I personally like, but if other people don't rock with it like that, I understand. And with that being said, it's hard for me to be objective and say, you know what, I'm going to put this album super high because I like it. I don't do that. Like, I personally love Method Man and Redman's Blackout album. That's a personal favorite of mine. That's not an all-time great hip-hop album. Busta Rhymes' ELE, personal favorite of mine. It's not an all-time great hip-hop album. I want to ask you guys, too, because we posted this on Twitter. Make sure you follow According to Hip Hop on Twitter as well. We got blue checked on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter. We put this on Twitter and on our Facebook. We put all of Busta Rhymes' albums outside of the most recent two. And we asked, how many classic albums does Busta Rhymes have? So I want to ask the people in here, and y'all could just put a number in the chat. How many classic albums does Busta Rhymes have? Yeah, it's a big catalog, you know, if you want to talk about album for album. And I personally think his best album is ELE. Do I think ELE is a hip hop classic? It's a classic for me personally, but if we're talking about the genre altogether, it's a tough sell. Um, to me, if we're talking about the genre altogether, The Coming is probably the one you could get the best argument for. But then you look at The Coming, that came out in 96. When we talk about all the great albums of 96, how far do we have to go? I mean, if I sit here and say, one of the best hip hop albums of 1996, are any of you guys going to mention The Coming? I think that people are going to go, and this is just my opinion, I think people are going to go, All Eyes on Me, It Was Written, you know, in no order. These are just things that people are going to spout off. People are going to say The Score. People are going to say ATLians. People are going to say Reasonable Doubt. People are going to say Machiavelli. People are going to say Philadelphia Half-Life. I think people even say The Stakes Is High. I mean, we could go on and on. 96 is heavy. I don't know. And oh shit, Muddy Waters. I'm saying Muddy Waters before The Coming as well. I don't know how far you get before you get to The Coming. Now, I do think where Busta Rhymes really excels is he has classic singles for sure. And I see somebody saying Disaster Strikes, Iron Man, right? You're gonna mention Iron Man. Yeah, right. Is The Coming even a top 10 hip hop album of 1996? Do you guys think that The Coming is better than Riding Dirty from UGK? That's one. Do you guys think The Coming is better than Machiavelli? Do you think The Coming is better than All Eyes on Me? That's three right there. Do you think The Coming is better than It Was Written? That's four. Do you think The Coming is better than The Score? Do you think The Coming is better than Reasonable Doubt? Do you think The Coming is better than Iron Man? Just saying, guys. All Riding Dirty is 95? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's see. No, we're not gonna let you lie on us online. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, July 30th, 1996, Riding Dirty. Yeah, don't try to throw me off, man. I do this, man. Let's see. Best hit. Let me do this because maybe I'm missing some things, right? 1996. 1996. Okay. I got All Eyes on Me. I think that's better than The Coming, right? Is The Coming better than All Eyes on Me? I'm sure it's not. We got Riding Dirty. Boom. We got ATLians. Reasonable Doubt. Machiavelli. That's 5. Muddy Waters. It ain't better than Muddy Waters. Score. That's 7. Hell on Earth by Mobb Deep. I missed that one. It Was Written by Nas. Philadelphia Half-Life. Iron Man. That's 11 right there. Stakes Is High. Is The Coming better than Stakes Is High? Just saying, man. Oh, this is a good one. Is The Coming better than Legal Drug Money from Lost Boys? Il Nana from Foxy Brown? I don't know, man. Well, I know it's Bow Down by West Side Connection. That's 96 as well. So, yeah, if you're not a top 10 album in your year, I don't think that you have it's a classic album. I mean, in what situation do we have an album that's not a top 10 album in the year that it came out, but it's a classic album? So yeah, I think that takes The Coming off the mark, right? Then we got When Disaster Strikes. I think When Disaster Strikes is probably his best chance at that. But when we think about 1997, let's pull it up, man. Let's look at 1997, man. And 1997 ain't even a strong year like that. It's a very transitional year in hip hop. Is When Disaster Strikes better than Wu-Tang Forever? I don't think so. Is When Disaster Strikes better than The War Report? That's a good one. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I would say no. Is When Disaster Strikes better than Life After Death? No. Is When Disaster Strikes better than One Day It'll All Make Sense? That's a good conversation. I don't think so. Is When Disaster Strikes better than Uptown Saturday Night by Camp Lo? I don't think so, but maybe I'm being biased there. Yeah, Hardcore was 96 as well. When Disaster Strikes, not better than that either. Volume 1 from Jay. I think that album is better than When Disaster Strikes. The Untouchable from Scarface. Huh. I got next, KRS. The Carnival by Club. The Carnival's better. Listen, man. Art of War by Bone. Nah, I would give When Disaster Strikes over Art of War. There was a lot of holes in that. Do you guys think that it's better? Do you think When Disaster Strikes is better than Ghetto D from Master P or Harlem World by Mace? Or hold up. No Way Out by Puff. It might not be top 10 in 97. And 97 is far from 96. Yeah, so that's hard to say, man. You got a classic album if it's not top 10 in that year that it came out. ELE is his best chance, in my personal opinion. But again, that's 98. And I don't even want to run down the list of, you know what? I'll do this just because I'm here and this is what we're doing right now. I'm going to run this down 98. You guys think that ELE is better than Capital Punishment? I'm taking myself out of it because personally, I love ELE. I could quote every word from the album. So I personally like it better than Capital Punishment. But what do you guys think? Akumina is not better than Volume 2. That's hard to say it's better than that. 400 Degrees by Juvenile, no. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, no. I think it's better than Doc's the Name. I think it's better than Black Star's album. Y'all got Capital Punishment over it? Okay. I think it's better than Still Standing by Goody Mob. I think ELE is really strong. It's not better than Moment of Truth. That takes it out of the top 5 right there. So you got Moment of Truth. You got It's Dark and Hell is Hot. You got Volume 2. You got Akumina. You got 400 Degrees. I didn't even count Capital Punishment. So, yeah, it's not, I'm trying, Busta. I'm trying to get ELE in there. I really am. From what I'm seeing, man, it might not. Yeah, I don't know if Busta got a classic album, but anyway, I said some things in regards to Killer Mike's album last week, and I didn't want to sound like I was denigrating the album. I think it's one of the strongest albums of 2024. But when I look at somebody like Killer Mike and the stature that he's at and the level that he's at as an MC and as an artist and as an overall figure representing the city of Atlanta, I think like, okay, well, where is Killer Mike dominant at, right? Like as an MC, I think he does a great job putting together projects, and he's been able to do that really over the past couple of years. I think with Michael and even with this most recent effort, I think the one that came out last week is better than Michael personally, but I think Michael's well put together as well. And obviously rap music. My thing is I start looking at the individual MC and, we start talking about all-time rankings, and every great MC has that thing about them that they do great. Project Pat has an incredible flow. He's incredibly entertaining. He has those punchlines, or at least phrases, right? Too Short. He might not be all super lyrical or whatever, by some people's standards, but Too Short got bangers. Too Short got, he has those phrases that you can repeat. He has that voice. Like if we're doing the individual MC attribute, like we did a couple of years back, where does Killer Mike score the highest as an MC? Does he have a great rap voice? Does he have a great rap flow? Does he have great, punchlines? Is he a great storyteller? Is he, from a lyrical standpoint, do you think that lyrically, he runs circles around MCs. Like, where is his strongest attribute? And on great albums, I feel like those things flourish the most. And all I was saying last week was I still don't know where Killer Mike is great as an MC, you know, and I don't mean that in a mean way. Like, even when I look at Big Boi, Big Boi's flow is vicious. You know what I'm saying? Like, Big Boi can stop on a dime on some rhyming shit, and it's amazing. And he can adjust with pretty much anything, right? His versatility as an MC, jumping on Bombs Over Baghdad and doing what he did on there. Same thing with Dre. And so I even start looking in their crew. If I'm being objective here, and I'm not just talking about the catalog, and you guys think that Killer Mike's a good storyteller, okay? Where would his storytelling rank, like on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest? Because I'm trying to think of all of the, you know what I'm saying, stories that I would compile to make that argument. And I started thinking about, you know, just the Dungeon family members alone. To me, Cool Breeze is captivating in ways that I haven't, you know, connected with Killer Mike on, and that's no disrespect. Cool Breeze is awesome to me. Okay, Killer Mike's appeal is authenticity. Okay, I don't know if that is he's very believable. I will say that he's very convincing. But I think that authenticity that you're speaking about, Leroy, I think that really translates more so in an interviewing setting as opposed to the music. Like, and again, maybe this is just me, you know, being a jaded Southern hip hop fan where our greats have crazy amounts of personality. I met Big Gipp. I interviewed Big Gipp. Super big personality. I mean, you could feel it when it comes in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, pause. I mean, he has that flow, that stature, the fashion. Like, same thing with Pimp C. Pimp C's dancing on the track, man. And I guess the next level for Killer Mike for me is, and it's just my opinion. Like, my opinion don't mean nothing. I'm just talking, right? It's like I have to see, like, where are you great at? And usually on our great albums, we hear that. I was just talking about Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes showed you who he was on The Coming. He showed you the elevation on When Disaster Strikes. And he showed you where he was great at on ELE. To me, like on ELE, he's showing you that, like, listen, when it comes to this bully foot rap, there's not many people fucking with me. Sean Price on Barbarian, on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know where this guy is great at. These punchlines. Same thing with Muddy Waters for Redman. Like, this is my domain. And say with T.I., trap music, urban legend, King, he shows you, like, this is my strong area. Wayne with the Carter 1 and 2, this is who I am. Dedication 3. And I just don't feel like, even with the dope albums, I still don't feel like Killer Mike has that moment, that Supreme Clientele, Ghostface moment where it's like, oh yeah, this right here is where he's the great at. Snoop on Doggy Style, right? Rob Stark with the super chat says Snoop may have been the most popular. I'm sorry, Snoop may have been more popular than Pop in the early 90s, but Pac was more popular with black people. White people love G-Funk. Snoop was pretty popular with black people too, man. I mean, we're not going to just play that game like Snoop was just some crossover guy and that was it. Snoop was pretty popular across the board. So, I mean, Pac was popular across the board as well. Pac had an appeal on all levels. They both did. Yes, Jesus Price. Of course, man. Prodigy on on the Infamous. Hell on Earth. It's like, you know where these guys live. And even with we say all that stuff about Kendrick. Kendrick showed you what he could do on Good Kid, Mad City. He showed you what he could do on To Pimp a Butterfly. Damn, to me, is Kendrick's domain. And when Kendrick's able to do what he did on Phil and do what he did on DNA or Element, even when he played Element at that concert that he did, man, like that just changed everything, man. And Scarface, y'all mentioning Scarface, man, like when you hear The Diary and you hear I seen a man die, like you understand nobody can pull off what he just did like this dude. When you listen to Jadakiss, even though Jada don't even have, to me, a hands down classic album, we know where Jada's great at. We know that punchline rap. We know, you know what I'm saying, bar for bar, the freestyle shit. When he jumped out there and did that excuse me, Who Shot Your freestyle at the verses, that's where he lives, man. Like, I just feel like as great as Killer Mike has proven to be in the eyes of many, I still don't know that level of identity. I just don't. I mean, and that's not a criticism. Well, I guess it is a criticism. That's not a knock. That's just, you know, hopefully I'll be able to see that soon. And I still don't know. And even in a career this long, it said Kendrick's never made Reagan. Oh, Mad Max is such a Kendrick hater. Listen, that's all I was saying. But yeah, dope album, and I think that, you know, it's one of the best albums in hip hop so far this year. We got some really dope music that came out this past week. I know our guys talked about that the other day on the Weekend Rhyme. Yeah, I know Logic dropped some stuff. Benny dropped some stuff that I ain't really, you know, some of the people in the chat say I wasn't feeling like that. Well, I liked it. It was cool. Lotto dropped another album. It was dope. And Drake dropped a few songs. We're going to talk about that in a second. But I do want to talk about this one story that I feel like is very, 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 very interesting. It's been reported that Jay-Z is taking ownership of Reasonable Doubt in 2031. Now, many of the, how do I say this? Many of the people that are reporting this in a way, and I would say even the way according to Hip Hop initially reported it, they're reporting it in somewhat of a misleading way. And so I want to read the original story from TMZ, because TMZ actually is the one that kind of uncovered this clause. And I'm going to go into depth in this, as quick as I can, because I know we got to go on with the show. But I do think it's important to actually put a conversation like this in context, because I think when you read the headline, it kind of looks like, you know, for a lot of people, the Jay's on some grimy shit or something like that. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, I saw Killer Mike at the historic Blue Note Jazz Club in NYC 2 weeks ago. His energy, voice clarity, breath control, and overall stage performance is a clear 10 out of 10. A true MC. Great performer. There we go. Okay. But I guess I don't know if that translates on record like that. But yeah, I could see that. Great performer. Run the Jewels, great in a festival setting. I actually saw Run the Jewels at out here in Atlanta. It was what festival was that? Anyway, Immortal Technique came out there with Killer Mike, and they killed it. All right. This is what TMZ Hip Hop is reporting. So Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt would be all mine. Note to Rockefeller bidders. Anyway, says Jay-Z is taking legal claim to his master recordings of his iconic debut album, and it's a buyer's beware notice of sorts to anyone getting ready to drop more than $1 million to buy Dame Dash's share of Rockefeller Records. TMZ Hip Hop has learned that Jay-Z's attorney just made a legal filing that might normally fly under the radar, but here's why it's suddenly very relevant. As we first reported, Dame's third of Rockefeller is going up for auction later this month, and the label's only real asset is Jay-Z's 1996 album, Reasonable Doubt. Okay. While Rockefeller currently holds the copyrights on that record and all of its tracks, Jay's attorneys have now filed a notice that those rights will revert to Sean Carter / Jay-Z in 2031. Even though Jay and Dame aren't exactly vibing these days, this legal move isn't about revenge, it's just business. The rights would have gone back to Jay 35 years after the record released anyway. His lawyers have just filed the paperwork to make it official. So what does that mean for the August 29th auction? However it ends up, Dame shares minimum bid is 1.2 million. Will enjoy 1/3 of the reasonable doubt revenues, but only for about the next 6 years and change. Then it's all Jay's. Okay. So let me put all this in context without having to read a whole nother article, because I did some research on this before the show, right? So Dame is in the middle of a lawsuit, and the judgment from the litigation and from the judge is that sell some of your assets to handle this debt, right? So the partners in Rockefeller Records, Jay, Biggs, and Dame, in the agreement initially, they basically were saying that they all have to agree on a sale before anybody sells any of their shares. Now, the judge saw that and said, no, that's not fair. If this man owes this individual and he's willing to give up his shares that are his shares, then you guys are going to have to let him sell it, but it's going to have to go in auction, right? And if you want these shares, then you're more than willing to go to auction and buy these shares. Now, like they said here, the minimum at auction is going to be 1.2. So I'm assuming that the bidding is going to start at $1.2 million for Dame's 1/3 of Rockefeller Records. Now, from what I understand, the biggest asset to Rockefeller Records that they own, that, you know, the Rockefeller Records team actually owns, is Reasonable Doubt. That's the crown jewel. I don't know if the Krayshawn album's in there or something like that, but it seems like that's the only one. None of the other Jay-Z albums on there, none of the Kanye stuff, none of that stuff. I think that's probably Def Jam, whatever. So based on what I've been reading, Reasonable Doubt is that one. The play that Jay just made was the fact that, well, let me rewind. In the music industry, if you've been in the game 35 years, you're able to own your master recordings outright. That's why you see a lot of our OGs finally getting their masters, right? I think Anita Baker was just in a long legal bout and was able to get her masters after 35 years in the game. So what Jay's attorney just, put on paper that was going to happen anyway is the fact that 35 years from 1996 is going to be 2031. And the masters are going to revert back to Jay-Z, who's already 1/3 of basically Reasonable Doubt, or Rockefeller in this sense. So letting every buyer know, like, look, if you want to pay $1.2 million for something that you're only going to be able to make money off of for 6 years, go at it. And I feel like that move that Jay and his attorneys just made to say, yo, he's getting Reasonable Doubt back in 2031, and Reasonable Doubt's pretty much the only thing on this label anyway, was to let any buyer know that this isn't worth your time. This isn't worth your time or your money. And furthermore, another article I was reading, and it makes a lot of sense, whoever buys this $1.2 million, 1/3 share from Dame, they're going to be a minority owner in the sense that they don't really have any voting rights, because more than likely Jay and Biggs are going to vote against anything anyway. So you're not going to be able to do anything with Reasonable Doubt anyway without getting a majority vote. And if the other two partners are Big and Jay, more than likely you're not going to be able to get that majority vote. You're pretty much going to be buying a piece of something that you're going to end up being powerless in. And on top of all that, you're going to have to outbid Jay-Z for this. And that's probably not going to happen. And I think that all the while, Jay is going to, he's let it be known that this is very important to him. He's always said that Reasonable Doubt's important to him. And this is a chess move in a sense where it's like there's really nowhere to move. Who else are you going to get to buy this? I predicted at the end of this month, either Jay, Blue Ivy, or somebody in that camp is going to own that 1/3 of Rockefeller Records. And I think that this move kind of solidifies that. I don't know why anyone would even buy these shares where they can't really do anything with it. They're not going to be able to do anything with it from a voting standpoint. And like the attorney said, in 6 years, the rights are going to revert right back over to Jay-Z anyway. And after the rights and the ownership of Reasonable Doubt revert back to Jay-Z, what does being a 1/3 Rockefeller owner even mean at that point anyway? So I think that move was very, very interesting. And I don't think this was a quote unquote dirty move per se. I think that this was a move just showing that, this is what's going to happen. It's showing it's bargaining power for Jay to say, look, for anybody who feels like they want to bid on this at the end of the month, just consider the fact that you're probably not going to get any real voting rights here. And any level of ownership you have in this is going to run out in 6 years anyway. So what kind of revenue are you going to be able to make off of this $1.2 million investment in the first place? Now, I know there were talks about the fact that Cam and Mace were buying or bought Dame's stake in, or his 1/3 stake in Rockefeller. If that is true, or if that's going to be true, I guess they're going to have the ability to go to auction and try to buy that 1/3. But from what I'm reading here, I mean, I don't know this officially, but from what I'm reading here, sounds like Jay-Z's probably going to be there to put in his bid too. So whoever is trying to buy that 1/3, they're going to have to outbid Jay. And I mean, from what I'm reading, it seems like he's willing to pay whatever. And I don't think that it's going to be worth it for anybody else to own something that they can't do anything with. And very huge power move right there, man. I mean, it took him a long time to get Reasonable Doubt. He was going to get it anyway in 2031. But I think we're going to see something happen at the end of the month where Jay is going to really be majority here, or maybe him and Biggs will work something out where they're equal partners in as far as percentage goes. But the good news for that is, for us hip hop fans, we're probably going to see something, a re-release of sorts of Reasonable Doubt, or some level of celebration after that, where this album is going to be immortalized even more. But I think that story needs to actually be put in context, because this isn't something underhanded. This is just something that, this is Jay just capitalizing once again. Hove wins again. Brian with the super chat says, regardless, Busta, curious for your thoughts. Regarding Busta, excuse me. Curious for your thoughts on this. Last year, you said a cult classic is a classic album. Busta has cult classics to his fan base, right? When I think of cult classics, I think of Mad Villainy and things like that. I think that I'm not really sure who, even though I'm a part of Busta's fan base somewhat, I'm not really sure if Busta has like a MF Doom type of fan base or a Blue and Exile type of fan base. I think that his fan base really rocks with the singles. And I think that the ones that actually rock with the album cuts like that, we're a very, very small piece of that puzzle. I mean, for the New York people in this room right now, does New York really rock with Busta like that on the local level? And I think that on a local level, that's when you can kind of gauge cult classic stuff, where people like a Sean Price or people like a Prodigy, who might not sell like a crazy amount of records, but they got like that core. And that core really starts in the city like that. I mean, again, I could ask somebody in New York, name me the top 15 New York rappers, the top 20 New York rappers. Like, how far will we get until we get the Busta? You know what I'm saying? Like, how far would we get if we ask anybody in New York or outside of New York? We seen the greatest New York albums ever. Was a Busta album on there? And if it was, at what point was it ranked? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. We just got to be real about that part of it. Oh man. y'all gonna make people mad at me for telling the truth. I'm just being real, man. I like Busta. I think Busta is incredibly talented, but you know, does he have a low end theory? Sure. No, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga said that Kim probably gets more love than Busta as a nostalgia act. Am I wilding? I'm not wilding. Okay. Before we get to the Drake topic, and we're gonna get to the Drake topic. Juvenile just got on the Breakfast Club and said that Lil Wayne is the greatest rapper of all time. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. He said that he saw. Okay, cool. We got we got somebody jumping in because we're gonna talk about. I want to talk to Siobhan about this Wayne topic too, man. Juvenile got on the Breakfast Club and said that in his opinion, Lil Wayne is the greatest MC of all time. Yo, what's good, brother?
What's good?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you been?
I'm good. Introduce yourself to the people real quick, man.
My name is Savon, man. Straight out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Representing the living room. So,
yes, sir. All day, man. I appreciate you joining me, man. Even talking about this Wayne topic and talking about this Drake topic, I wanted to actually have somebody from your generation. You're a little younger than me. You came up in the Wale era, in the is it fair to say like the Big Sean era of things? Okay. And yeah. So I would love your perspective on some of these things. I don't want to just talk from an old nigga's perspective on some of these things. You know what I mean? And so Juvenile said that Lil Wayne's the greatest MC of all time. And, Juvenile saw Wayne since he was a child and saw him continue to grow and continue to elevate. I expect Juvenile to say that. He should say that. Like, he's repping his team. He's repping, his city, label, legacy, all of those things. But how valid is it to say that Wayne is the greatest rapper of all time? And is there a huge populace that feels like he has that number one spot?
It's a valid argument. It's also a subjective argument, but it's a very valid one. You can make overall hip hop. We never seen somebody really have a run like Wayne was just crushing shit, like consistently, from the features to the albums to the consistency. That work ethic is kind of trickled down to how music is consumed today, as far as how often you hear people on records, how often you hear music is damn near the same. A little bit of that formula that Drake uses with his consistency to be able to keep music rolling out, that even if it's not an album, you're going to hear him on a feature. You're going to hear him on a single. It's a mixtape. He changed the mixtape game for a minute, I think it's a valid argument for Wayne. You may have some people that may think otherwise, because you have the Jay-Z's, you have the DMX's, you have people that have these classic albums and the longevity to them that has crushed in their time. People can even make the argument for Kanye, but I kind of place him in another category as far as MC. But the quality of music and the consistency is there. So
I want to play devil's advocate for a second, right? I think that, all right, Wayne, if we look at it from a real longevity standpoint, Wayne technically started in like 97. I mean, his first solo album was 99. So let's just start there, right? Even though he had Hot Boy stuff in 97, Get It How You Live. In 99. So if we look at 99 and shit, Wayne's most recent effort, the collaboration with 2 Chainz, which he was rapping crazy on.
Yes.
Last year. 2023. We're talking about 24 years of longevity. Like, there's a small amount of people, past, present, whatever, that can claim 24 years of just straight up consistency. You mentioned DMX. DMX had very, and I say this respectfully, God bless the dead. He had 3 or 4 very, very strong years, and things kind of tapered off a little bit, right? Jay, Reasonable Doubt's a classic, but Jay didn't hit right away in the same way that, Block is hot. People can say whatever about it.
That's where it gets shaky if you're gonna make that statement, because some people can make that same argument for Wayne that it didn't really hit for him until the Carter. Like, we was familiar with Wayne, the Hot Boys, but you talk about that 90s early run, it was Juvie. I mean, we can't take that away, but Juvie was the hottest out of that early run in Cash Money. It could be debated. BG, Wayne.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Wayne was number 3. Wayne was number 3. I was there. Yeah, it was Juvenile was the man. Then BG was number 2, and Wayne was number 3.
Exactly.
Like, Wayne didn't jump into that spot. I mean, if we're gonna be real about it, he started to get to that spot around the Carter 1. I remember things were changing with the Carter 1. Actually, I remember 400 Degrees when I saw the video for Where You At that was on 106 in Park. I was like, man, Wayne snapping. And that song "Fuck You" that was playing in the club with the big timers, whatever. He was rapping. It was like Wheezy. It was like, it was different. He wasn't the wobbledy Wayne like that. But then when the Carter 1 dropped, I think that's when we kind of start taking him serious as an MC.
Facts.
But he wasn't doing numbers yet. So you're right. If we want to play that game with Reasonable Doubt, Wayne's Volume 2 is actually the Carter 3, if we're being honest, because Carter 2 wasn't doing numbers like that either. I remember, and the stuff was quality though. You know what I mean? The mixtapes and all that stuff dedicated to 3, dedication 2, 3, all that. But I remember 50 Cent was on MTV. And this is when Wayne was in the middle of his buzz and just building up for the Carter 3. 50, who had the hits at the time, he was like, you can't even tell me what his first single was from his last album. And we knew that it was Fireman, I think. But again, these songs weren't like household hits like that. And his Volume 2 moment wasn't really into the Carter 3, and that's 08. So that can be said if we're,
Well, like I said, that's always going to be subjective depending on what region you are when you start dissecting his albums like that.
Right.
Because, the classic for some people may be the Carter 1. The world knew Wayne at the Carter 3. My favorite is the Carter 2. But the Carter 1, you have Go DJ, you have Bring It Back, you have, Earthquake. Those are the singles off that. Those are still classics. You go to HBCU, you're going to hear Earthquake, the joint with Jazzy Faye. You're going to hear Go DJ in the club. Even till this day, a DJ is going to find a way to put it in. Bring It Back. That's when he declared himself the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired. Yep. So, there's statements that was made in the buildup of each one. And then you have the Carter 2 where you get you're getting hustler music. You're getting songs of that, and he's making his way. So I mean, it could be debated depending on who you talk to on when he jumped out. But I say when the world took notice and eyes was on Wayne, it had to be the Carter 1. That's when he stamped himself, I'm the best rapper alive. And the mixtapes were to follow, and he was showing and proving. So I guess you just have to trickle it down to what's your personal favorites. But if I want to talk about his contribution to hip hop, yes, he has the longevity that is like unique in a way because he did start very young and still is relevant till today. And there's not a lot of artists that made it past 2 or 3 albums.
Yeah.
He has a great catalog, which I think catalog wise, if you were to add in the mixtapes and all that run, he's probably able to hang in there. If they were to do like a versus, he could probably go in there and hang with Jay as far as the longevity of run of music. But
what's his best song, you think? What do you think Wayne's like hallmark record is?
I feel like Wayne's best hits came off the Carter 3 nationally. That's when, but like I said, he's a cultural icon as well, man. You have so many monumental features with just Wayne on it. You have classic freestyles. You have, cult classic singles off albums like the Carter 1 and 2. And you can go back to, Lights Out, or, his prior albums, Block Is Hot and stuff. These are things that when you hear it, oh man, I remember the time when I first heard that.
Right.
It brings you back to a point in time. But I would say the hallmark of his best hits that the world knows, and outside of just hip hop, outside of just our culture, the world knew Wayne off the Carter 3. But I feel like hip hop took notice to Wayne off the Carter 1, and in the Carter 2, he was already legitimized as, hey, he is the best rapper alive at this time.
Well, I think they're very important in the same way that Reasonable Doubt and Volume 1 are important for Jay. While you were talking, I was thinking that, like, the Carter 1 and the Carter 2 are the foundations for everybody getting on board with the Carter 3. Once people heard Lollipop and Amelia, it's like, okay, well, I can go back. It's like, oh, damn, I missed Go DJ or whatever. And I think Go DJ was big enough for people heard it, but we're talking about crossover audiences now. Mm-hmm. Like, people heard, Can't Knock the Hustle, Feeling It, Ain't No Nigga. People heard Who You With and stuff like that. But when Hard Knock Life came, it's like, okay, well, shit, I need to go back and listen to this whole album.
Exactly.
And I think that's why, albums like the Carter 1 and 2 are extremely important. I think Wayne's legacy, I want to go back to something you said initially. The fact that people put out so much music now, and in the streaming era, digital era, or whatever you want to call it, that comes from, like you said, that work ethic that Wayne put forth. He's a game changer in that sense. And, even when you correlate things to sports, it's like we kind of quantify our great ones by the people who made the league change rules. You know what I'm saying? And there were a lot of rules changed in the game from the things that Wayne put forth. He got a lot of kids out here. You know what I'm saying? Not just talking about his birth kids in this music game. A lot of people, the way they put music out, he made mixtapes important in a different kind of way, right? Like, obviously we know G Unit and 50 and the Locks and, all those guys made mixtapes well before Wayne did it. But I think for a certain era, he made that mixtape game important to the fact that it's like, you know what? You can actually sell these things like albums. Because after 50 put out, Get Rich or Die Trying, the focus was more so on, the album. He had some mixtapes in between there, more so than the mixtape. Wayne made sure that he still fed the mixtape crowd and had the mainstream crowd and had like 100-something features. Like, this is what makes you great now, being a volume shooter, if you will. And, we talk about Steph Curry, man, and how the league turned to a three-point shooting league just based off of the way he played. Wayne's similar to that in a sense.
Yeah.
And, and just for that alone, he deserves to be in the conversation because there's not a lot of people who have that level of longevity, who changed the game in that way, and who usher in people like Drake, Nicki, and, all the other people that he helped who weren't even signed to his label.
I feel like not only that, he kept the Cash Money lights on, and he extended that new generation of Cash Money, which now we could arguably kind of start putting Cash Money into the conversation of one of the best record labels ever.
Because that's true. You're right.
All the hip hop artist-led labels, they're the one that's still standing and still alive. So we could make that argument that they're still standing from the 90s until now. And it's a true testament to not only of Wayne's power, but the branches that extends from Wayne, that family that extends from Wayne. And then not only that, the in-between, like how you say, his feet and his bass in between the albums, leading up to the albums with the mixtapes, the features. We also have to really give Wayne credit for showing people a way of not only staying hip hop, but now you have to give him credit for how he was able to branch off to other areas outside of hip hop where people are listening to him. And like I said, that's when I feel like you become a global icon. And that's an argument that people make for Jay, that like sometimes they'll say, oh, he wasn't recognized in the world until he got with Beyonce or whatever. Wayne is a global icon at this point. So, you know, he's made albums that's part rock albums. You know, it may not be, you know, the most hip hop to us as far as listeners, our favorite albums, but he does have the I Am Not Human albums. He has, you know, those type of joints that resonate with others, you know, that makes him a global icon. And I feel like what Wayne has done, not only for hip hop, but for Cash Money is stamped and it's solidified. And he does have a good argument to be held as one of the best to ever do it. Just from what he came from to where he got to and how he's still able to come and be relevant, and then his influence to the game and the people that's branched from underneath him, it's a great argument, because I can't say there's another artist that we're going to see or that, you know, as Wayne, as far as work ethic and consistency and being able to just keep coming with it whenever his number's called, you know.
Yeah, and you know, it's only a handful, and all those people who are in that handful are all-time greats. Now, I do want to clarify, of course, 50 Cent was dropping mixtapes, but those are more so G-Unit mixtapes as opposed to solo missions. Like these Wayne mixtapes were solo missions.
I mean, like 50 did have solo mixtapes. Don't get me wrong, 50 has classic.
After Get Rich Without Trying, though?
No, that's the thing. That's
what I mean.
Like,
yeah,
not really after the get. I mean, he had, you know, Who Kid tapes here and there, but
yeah, because Elephant in the Sand, I love those joints, but those were more G-Unit. You know what I mean?
Mixtape wise was leading up to, you know, this is before him signing that Aftermath and Shady or whatnot. But what Wayne did with the, you know, he should be on the Mount Rushmore for mixtape.
Ooh, who is on the Mount Rushmore mixtapes?
We have to put Wayne on there, hands down. We have to put Wayne on there. I think 50 does get a
my first pick on that.
Yeah, I think 50 does get a rightful spot on there. We, you know, and this where some people may say it gets shaky, because I would like to throw Fab on there. You know, I think Fab has a nice run, but some people say, I don't know.
Fab, I mean, somebody in the chat said that before you even said it.
Yeah, there's no competition in the Soul Tape series. For the underground, they may say Currency. You know, some people may throw Currency in there. I know the newer generation will say Future. You know, the newer generation will say Future.
What do you think about Gucci Mane and that?
Gucci Mane has a hell of a run mixtape wise. You know, he's not the best mainstream artist, but we know him from the underground. He consistently kept feeding us, you know, mixtapes, so we can say Gucci. There's Jeezy. Yes, Can't Ban the Snowman. You know what I'm saying? Even before that, trap music, like, I mean, not trap music, but Trap or Die. Yeah, Trap or Die. So, I mean, we could say Jeezy, but for me, yeah, it has to be 50, Wayne. Man, this is a good one. 50, Wayne, Fab. These are personal favorites that I listen to. Man, now you got me thinking, Mike. You got me thinking.
What about Big Crit? What do you think about Crit's mixtape game?
I didn't consistently listen to Crit.
Okay.
Wise, you know, so I can't make a judgment off that. Man, I just start thinking about classic mixtapes, and now it just brings me back to why Wayne is so great. He has so much that I could, you know, compare it to these other artists during even their mixtape tear, you know.
My personal favorite Gangsta Grill is T.I.'s Down with the King.
But I think T.I. is kind of slept on as far as his mixtapes that he contributed.
Yeah, I think that, you know, once other people start doing the mixtapes, you know, maybe he was more focused on albums and, you know, his mixtapes are kind of overshadowed or whatever. But Down with the King is everything that T.I. is. He's talking shit on there. He's flowing crazy. He's making songs. He's dissing niggas. Like, I mean, if you want to know who T.I. was in his prime, young T.I., listen to Down with the King. It's personally my favorite T.I. project. It's not his best, but it's a personal favorite of mine. He was on point on there. Now, I will say this, and we can move on to the Drake topic after this. I think my only trepidation about putting Wayne on an all-time great, I guess, number one list. I think Wayne's dope lyrically, and I think that he can wrap circles around a lot, but I just think he lacks the storytelling ability, right? The cohesive type of subject matter and creative content in that way. I think he's creative in a different way where he kind of just spits shit and just makes it come together. But from a traditional rhyming standpoint, from my old ears, listen to a Rakim, a Nas, a Jay, even the way Biggie puts stuff together, and even the sentiment of a lot of Pac's music. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get a Dear Mama from Wayne. I don't think we're gonna get the range of like Ambitions as a Rider, No More Pain, or Brenda's Got a Baby from Wayne, and those things. Those are my concerns with putting Wayne on an all-time, above a Scarface or something like that. But if we're just talking the music and we're talking about being a game changer, it's tough to make an argument against him.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne claimed to be the best rapper alive. Now,
Right.
when you start breaking stuff down due to content, it can get shaky for a lot of artists.
Right. I think T.I. is more rounded of an MC than Wayne is. If we want to talk subject matter and just being able to talk to talk to the women, talk on some, street shit, and then talk on some, praying for help. I'm just doing my job. Like, I think he's more balanced in that facet than even Wayne is.
But let's think about it. Like, because I feel like a lot of our greats, I always judge them based off their album runs,
Mm-hmm.
And there's still only a handful.
That's a great judge. That's a great thing to judge people by.
T.I. is one of those people that have a good album run. Kanye is one of those other people that have a great album run.
Yep.
Wayne, we have to think he had a great album run, but think about how many albums came before that run that were like their regional favorites or whatnot. But that first 3 Carter series, and some people would love to throw in the Carter 4 because that was a good album as well. Okay. The album runs, Jay, that can get shaky for some people. I'm biased because I'm a Jay fan, but there's some people that may not credit Jay's run to after, volume 2.
Where does Jay get shaky?
As far as who? As far as Jay or artist?
I guess as far as Jay, because I'll say Reasonable Doubt's great. Classic. It's his best album. Volume 1 is actually better than I originally thought back in the day.
Me too. When I go back and revisit
it aged very well. Volume 2 is the one that people feel like didn't age well, but I will say Volume 2 got the hits. It's like
Volume 2 is when the world started accepting Jay. I mean, come on, Hard Knock Life.
It's a classic moment.
Yeah, but let's keep it real. The reason why I say it gets shaky for Jay in those early albums, because like I say, Reasonable Doubt classic, Volume 2 classic. You can't tell me anything bad about Jay that I won't have a rebuttal for. You know what I'm saying? Like
Volume 3. Let's talk about it.
Fan. But let's be honest. For that early album run or that time era of that 90s, early 2000s, DMX had Jay.
Oh, yeah.
We have to say that. So that's why I say it gets a little shaky for Jay because, DMX was dropping 2 in the same year and killing.
Well, okay. Let's take it a step further. And I know Leroy wants to chime in on this in the chat or whatever. 96, the MVP is Pac. 97, the MVP is Big. Or it could possibly be Mace, Puff, whatever, however you want to look at it. 98, the MVP is DMX. Shit, 99, the MVP might be DMX. 2000, I personally would say Ghostface. Many people would say Eminem. Somebody could say Nelly. Whatever. 01, I think Jay gets that one. I give MVP to Jay on
Blueprint.
01. Yeah. But 01 is also Stillmatic and 01 is also Ether. But what I will give Jay, he had that Summer Jam, he had the Blueprint, he still had Give It To Me out here rocking. You know what I'm saying? So all of those things are going on still. So I will give Jay 01. And then 02, it's like, who's the MVP of 02? I might give that one to Eminem straight up. And this is me talking.
I
Either
gotta go
Eminem
back and look at
or
who dropped
Scarface.
it too. But you know who came in '03, man. You know
Yeah,
who.
that's 50.
You know who came through.
That's unanimous MVP
So,
right there. '02 could either be because Scarface dropped The Fix and Eminem dropped the Eminem Show.
but that's my favorite Eminem
03,
album. That's his most hip hop. That's M's most hip hop
his
album.
best album.
That's my favorite Eminem album. Yes.
Me too. I agree. '03, yeah, that's 50. And listen to what you're saying. That's the year that Jay retired and dropped the Black album, and that's still 50.
Yeah.
And so we got to ask ourselves, because I don't think Jay has any MVP years even after that. He has one MVP year in his whole career.
Yeah, when you talk about him against his peers, but you know,
that's not dominance, I would say.
Yes, but what makes Jay great is stuff outside of music as well. His business mind, his crew, you know, the people they put on, the people that came from that Rockefeller branch.
That's fair.
Rockefeller dominated, you know.
Dipset. I mean, regardless of what their relationship was like, that came from the Rockefeller brand. Dipset changed the game in their own way as well. Kanye changed the game. That comes from the Rockefeller brand. Even that whole Philly movement, that changed things with Siegel, State Property, Freeway. You remember that little period where everybody was rhyming like Freeway? It was crazy. And so, yes. And
from clothing
to under Jay's umbrella and his
work to everything. Jay just got Rockefeller influence culturally is what makes Jay great. Not only his albums, like honestly, Jay's one of those artists. I go back and I listen to his albums, and I feel like there's a quote of a song from every album I could put into my regular day life. So it's like Jay has one for everything. Like when you go back and listen to Jay's albums, because people like to, you know, put Jay in a nutshell what they think he is, but he's one of those artists that I could say I literally see his growth with every album. Like I literally see his growth for every album, and that's where a lot of artists lack is they don't grow with their albums.
Even though I don't like 444 like that, I've never got an opinion on 444.
I love it.
I still see growth. Where do you put 444 in his catalog?
Probably number 2 or 3.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Shabbat. Come on. Why? I gotta ask you why. I got a bottom 2 or 3.
So I remember looking at this interview with Andre 3000, and he's talking about, you know, they're talking about what do you rap about at this age and whatnot, you know, and I'm like, Jay's the perfect example. Jay's giving us music that we could feel, but it's coming from his mature mindset at that age of him being in his 50s. And if you're a grown man and you looked at your lifespan and how you came up and the mistakes you made or whatever, and you looking in the mirror, that's the album. I feel like not only did it give you his growth, but it also spoke to it spoke to social, so a lot of some social things in that album. As far as
Nas is another example of that. Like, I mean, Nas showed people with life is good that, like, look, I could talk about a divorce. You know what I mean? Like, it's very Marvin Gaye-esque. And it's really disheartening to hear somebody as talented as Andre 3000 say these things, because one could even say in the 60s and 70s, before even R&B music got real socially conscious or even talking about things that were outside of love songs, like, look, at a certain age, what can I sing about? You know what I mean? Like, that didn't stop Marvin Gaye from making What's Going On. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Marvin Gaye was out here making, to some people, what would be considered doo-wop music. You know what I mean? Like that Motown music. These were love songs, which were great love songs, all-time great love songs. But when he reached a point in his life that, you know what, I can sing about something different, he did. And it just, I love 3000, but it just lets you know that there's levels of limitations for certain artists. And those limitations, they're not to your all-time greatness. And for whatever reason, when it comes to Andre, we want to just look at him as in a vacuum, as opposed to being critical of those things.
I hated hearing that from Andre, because we got the Outkast albums, and I feel like that last one, that Speaker Box Love Below, it showed his artistry, but I feel like I want to just hear a Drake album of seeing who he is as a solo artist. You know, we know Outkast the group, but I've always wanted to get that inside glimpse of, you know, what he can deliver on an album and telling us about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like every artist kind of have that thing that can define who we see them as an artist, and I kind of feel like outside of, you know, the you know, I would say that the different way of how he flows or how he constructs music is we fall in love with Dre because his artistry as far as him being different and the way he puts words together. But I always wanted to get that glimpse of who he was as a person. And I feel like, when did we get the chance to see that outside of the dress, the clothing, and, you know, the odd way of just him being different? When have we got a glimpse to him as a person musically? And
You
so,
won't, because this is who Dre is, right? And Dre is a rare case where he shines in group settings, but when he's by himself, he doesn't really have anything to give you. And what he is a shining example of is how hard it is to be a solo artist, you know? And even with some people who are solo artists, I'll say Method Man, one of my favorite rappers. He's clearly a different person in a group setting than he is by himself. Some people are just more comfortable in a group setting, and Andre not only is more comfortable in a group setting, but he just won't and can't do. I'm gonna say can't because it's been 30 years and we don't have one single song where it's just him and 3 verses and a hook. He just can't do the solo rap thing,
so
and he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't have a hunger to do it. That's one thing, and he doesn't have a desire to do it, and he just can't pull it off. I think he's probably attempted in the studio and probably heard it and felt like something was missing, and it never came out. And that's how important Big Boi really is, and people don't really put the onus on how important Big Boi is to Dre's legacy. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
If it wasn't for Big Boi standing there and being as consistent as an MC as he is, and being as versatile of an MC as he is, we wouldn't even know the talents that Dre has.
And so, and this brings me to my question: why do we put Dre in that GOAT conversation when we were talking about solo artists when we haven't really got a solo hip hop album for him?
I don't. I say he's disqualified from that conversation because he doesn't have anything to qualify for.
Exactly. Now, if we're talking about Outkast as a group, they're top 5, probably top 3 best hip hop.
Exactly. Outkast as a group, all time great.
But Dre as an artist, I don't understand why people put Dre in their top 5, because I'm like, man, at least give me a hip hop album. The Love Below is not a hip hop album.
It's disrespectful to people who put out solo material. Like Common just dropped a dope album with Pete Rock. Common is pretty much handling that album solo. By the first 4 or 5 songs, he got more verses than Andre done given us in like 4 or 5 years.
Like, you can't pop out, give somebody a feature, then step out, and then, oh, he's the GOAT. Oh my God. Don't get me wrong. I love 3 Stacks.
I do too.
He when we're talking about GOAT conversation and top 5, top 10, he's not my top 10.
No, he's not even in the conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? He can't be because he's not qualified to be in an individual conversation. You have to have individual material for me to qualify you in an individual conversation. It is what it is.
I agree.
All right. Speaking of growth and people that I guess the public is somewhat turned on, what do you think? We had a whole conversation offline about Drake. Do you think people are tired of Drake? Do you think that Drake need to stand down right now? Are people really buzzing about the 100 gigs that were quote unquote leaked?
I didn't see anybody talking about it. I see the blogs, you know, of course, academics. People are going to talk about it, but because when you really look at hip hop media, from who's out there reporting the Drake news, whatever, a lot of those people don't really have much to talk about. So Drake is like a really hot button person to speak about. But I don't hear the streets. I don't see the internet. I don't see them talking about this. And if he would have dropped this 100 gigs last year, the internet would have been on fire. It would have been crazy. I just think the climate's kind of different. read the room, bro. I always say for me, read the room, and I feel like, yeah, your Drake stands, they appreciate that, but the culture right now, he needs to take a break. And it's not because, Kendrick flames you. It's like your momentum is not there no more. The tide has kind of turned where now every time you pop out, it's seeming like desperation and it's seeming like you're annoying people.
Kendrick has something to do with it, though.
I mean, no, Kendrick has a lot to do with it, and that's why the tides have changed. But I'm saying the reason why people don't want to hear from him is because it's validating a lot of things that Kendrick has said. So it's like it's kind of proving that point. You got to read the room, bro. And I feel like this is the best time for you to kind of disappear and make people miss you. Just kind of lie low. I mean, you had OVO this time. What's up with your artists? Push those artists, man. Like, we know Party and everything. You say he's gonna do the collab album with Party, but it's like, yo, take some time and you never took a break from music. Before the Kendrick stuff, he said he was gonna take a break. So why did that change now? Why do you want to do music? But the tone before the Kendrick stuff is, I'm taking a break.
I will say this: like, if he takes a break right now, it does look like Kendrick shut him down.
I guess to who you're asking. For me, I feel like Not Like Us is still a song you cannot avoid. You can't avoid. It's on the radio. It's everywhere. It's being played at games, sports events. Everybody, you can't ignore this record. But Drake has so much of a following that his career is not over. It's not dead. I don't know any artist that's been at the peak that never took a break away to go do other stuff here and there. Drake,
I don't think he knows how to take a break musically.
Yeah.
I think he's so used to just hitting people with massive amounts of material and continuously clocking these number ones. He doesn't know how to do anything outside of that. You know what I'm saying?
The thing about what I find kind of interesting, this is kind of like just my lone thought on why he's doing this the way he is because I think Drake knows he doesn't make a lot of music that kind of stand the test of time. And so I think that contributes to his how much he drops in music and why he won't like take a vacation and away from the music and to come back. I feel like there's a little bit of that worrying if people are gonna miss him. And this is just my lone opinion. And I feel like that's why he's still putting out so much, because like, why? Read the room, bro. Like, why would you go drop that? What does that do for you at this moment? I mean, it feeds his base. And one thing I can give to him is he's always been able to feed his base more than any artist of this generation. But like, hey man, just know when to just take a break, man. Cool. Like, come back, do some other stuff and make the people miss you, man. And get back to the music. But right now the sentiments that I see on the internet, people are kind of getting annoyed and it's starting to feel like a desperation move.
I think that Kendrick and Drake are polar opposites on so many levels, right? And when you talk about the musical output, I got an echo going on. Is that on my end or your end?
I don't have the echo on my end.
Okay, cool. Anyway, it's the output, right? It's like Drake is constantly coming with material, whereas Kendrick, he can drop whenever and people miss him. Like you said, he's allowed people to miss him, rather, right? And they're obviously polar opposites when it comes to how they approach music, the music they put out to the public, their subject matter, everything. But I think that Kendrick's kind of shown that allowing people to miss you and taking those breaks, even though those breaks get criticized. Okay, people are saying my echo is still there. Shoot, what's going on with my echo? Hold on. Let's see if I can do some things with my mic. Let me turn my shit down or something. I think my mic is probably peaking. Do I sound better now? How do I sound now? You hear me?
Yeah. Y'all give him a thumbs up. Y'all can hear him.
Yeah. You hear me better now?
If y'all can hear Mike without echo.
Yeah, we got echo in here. Yeah, I still hear it. Ron, you hear it on your end? Let's see. Let me get back to this audio real quick. Because it's definitely throwing me off. Echo cancellation. Mic check, mic check. Let's see. Mic check, mic check. Let's see. We get another. Still echoing, still echoing. We got to get this mic.
Yo, Mike, you good?
Yep. Mic check, mic check. Okay. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? I'm still here. Hold on, let me try one more thing, guys. Let's see. Yeah, so try to actually switch over to other mic. You still here, right? That's weird. You know what? Hold on. Let me jump off. Jump right back on.
Got you. We here. Mic check.
We're having technical difficulties, everybody. I don't know what's going on with the echo, but Servan, you want to speak to? Are you hearing it? You're not hearing the Drake in the streets? You think he's cooked? You think
no, I think his core fans is listening to him. I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't think he's cooked. I just don't think the excitement for that music or that content that he put out is like making a noise that if he would have dropped last year, what it would have. I don't think has the streets on fire. I don't think it has the same effect of if he would have did it sooner.
Oh, let me see if my mic's good now. Somewhat feedback. Let me see. Let me turn my joint down over here. Is that a little bit better? Mic check to the people. Mic check. Yeah, thumbs up, guys, if y'all hear me a little bit better. But what I was gonna say, man, they're polar opposites in the way that they approach music, and so it seems like Kendrick's formula, which is more of an old school formula. We were just talking about the formula that Wayne has ushered into the game. He said, "Put on some headphones, bro." Actually, I got some headphones right here. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Hold on, let me put some headphones on. I got my beats right here. It was like, put on some headphones, bro. There we go. Is that better? We still hearing feedback even with the headphones? Because I still hear. Let's see. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Am I feeding? Am I getting feedback from your end? How about you jump off real quick and jump?
I'll jump off and jump on. Yeah.
All right, y'all hear me better now? We're still getting feedback. They said the headphones were worse. Yeah, I think it might have been from his end. They said I'm good now. Okay. Yeah, maybe if he jumps back on and maybe adjust some of the stuff that he got going on. All right, let's see. Yeah, it was gone when and now I'm paused. All right, you hear me? Mic check, mic check, mic check. All right,
fine. I was hearing you just fine. I guess it was putting out echo on that.
I don't know what was going on, but yeah. So as far as like the output or whatnot, that formula, I don't know if that's Drake needs to focus on quality. And again, I think that when you start matching up against somebody who focuses on quality, which is Kendrick, regardless of what you guys feel about his music, some of the people who are detractors about Kendrick's music, his base always feels like Kendrick gives them quality material. And I think that for a minute, Drake has kind of been skating through in this quality control type of climate, and he's been able to skate through by giving people a bunch of volume. And when Kendrick hit him with 4 records in like 4 days, he showed that I could provide quality and I could provide the volume that you provide. And to me, I think the biggest thing as far as their back and forth and what has hurt Drake the most moving forward is the culture vulture context and the conversation that Kendrick has created around Drake at this point. And I think that's what's gotten into Drake's head. And I think that's what he's trying to work out of, because that was never a conversation before. All that other stuff is whatever. But when you say that somebody's a culture vulture and they really aren't of the culture, and it's coming from somebody who is engulfed and drenched in the culture, now he's having to prove Kendrick otherwise. And like you said, he's doing a bad job of doing it. You know what I mean? You're trying too hard now. And I think that's what's throwing him off balance.
Yeah. I mean, that was the question. I mean, even like the whole not like us thing, and people talk about the race of him, Drake being biracial. Take the race out of it. He said, I'm what the culture's feeling. So when he did Not Like Us, when he did the pop-up show, he showed you he has somewhere where you can come back. He's welcome. He's good with people. He's introducing a new generation of people that's coming from that area. He's beloved where he's from. He has a home. Where's Drake home? He's now a resident of Houston. Yeah, he has the crib in Canada. And I think nothing was the same as when he gave you a glimpse of, you know, a little bit, I guess, his attempt to show him where he's from, and then, you know, views from the sits a little bit. But we don't see what Drake really comes from. We don't know what he matches up against as far as going back home, and what's his glimpse of where that, you know, what is the culture from him? You know, his culture is a chameleon of wherever he's at the time, or who he's associated with. And that's what's the difference of how I see Not Like Us and what he was saying, the things he was saying is like, yeah, say what you want. I'm what the culture's feeling. I have a background. I have a home I can go to. I know where I'm beloved at. Can we say the same about you? And so while everybody's taking the wild takes of what they want, Not Like Us, and he can't say nigga no more, all that stuff, what they take from, they're ignoring the point that that's what his thing was, is he's now putting it in your face that I come from somewhere. This is my culture. I'm of this culture. What's yours? And and when Drake is attempting to trying to show and prove that, he's doing a terrible job, and it's feeding into the hands of everything that Kendrick's been saying.
Yeah, and it shows the fact that he doesn't really know how to come from that place of, you know, being genuine. He's been a chameleon for a large part of his career. Even around the time when, I mean, I don't know if you remember the records he was doing with like Elzai, Fonte, and Ninth Wonder and stuff. It's like he's done a great job of being able to mesh with other acts. That's why him and Ross make such dope music together. But being from Houston sonically 1 minute, being from Memphis sonically 1 minute, being from Atlanta sonically 1 minute, has come back to bite him, and come back to bite him from somebody who is real West and actually made a real West Coast song to do it. And he's showing like, yo, I'm from the West Coast. This DJ Mustard record, this is my West Coast culture. This is where I come from. You're not like us and the rest of hip hop. And it's like now he's trying too hard to prove otherwise. I think also what Drake's doing currently, which is smart and what most artists have done. Fat Joe has done it. LL Cool J's done it. He's doing it right now. He got a record with Sweetie. He's connected with the younger artists, and he's kind of, you know, giving them a wave, but also kind of riding their wave as well. And some of the things that Kendrick is saying is resonating to the younger people because they see Drake doing that with their favorite artists right now. I think he just needs a strong piece of solo work. But I agree. He might need to chill for a second and really work on it.
Yeah, I mean, let's not take away from the fact, like, people in Toronto love Drake. I mean, he's sort of the reason why the tourism is probably up, because everybody want to go see the sits. What is Drake talking about? But the optics of getting the glimpse into Drake and his culture and where he comes from, we haven't really seen that. You know, it's kind of been borrowed from wherever he's associated with at the time, in my opinion.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, I'm from the days when Chocolare and Cardinal Official were like, you know, the artists that were coming out of Canada. Drake wouldn't have made it this far if he was really coming with a Canadian sound. You know what I'm saying? Like if he was coming across the border saying, look, I'm going to give America Cash Money Records, Young Money Records, this Canadian vibe, he wouldn't have made it this far. So part of him getting to this point, he had to assimilate and had to actually, you know, mesh in with different markets in the US. And that's part of Kendrick's point. Like, I ain't have to do that. Like, I could really give you who I am, and I didn't have to go out there and, you know, create, you know, I have to mesh in with Memphis, do what Atlanta's doing. I'm able to be Kendrick Lamar and be where I'm at. Somebody said Canada doesn't have a sound. I will say this. OVO does have a sound. If that's Canada's sound, I don't know.
No, there's a sound now because of Drake. We have to give him that credit, that sound that he ushered in. That is what anybody coming up now from that area, that's kind of like their influence now. So we have to say that. But like, I want to say this without contradicting my last statement. I still feel like a sound and a culture is different. And I feel like we still haven't got the culture of where he's from as an artist. Like we haven't got that. You know, and that's what's very telling between the two. And essentially that's like kind of why we have to start looking at the optics. Your failed attempts of trying to connect, and we haven't seen where your culture lies. You know, is it Houston? Is it where is it? Is it Atlanta? Where is it that you want to be from at this time, man? You know, and I don't feel like this was a question of Drake at all until Kendrick called it out. Like people let Drake ride whatever he want to ride, feeding his base. He's been on top for so long that nobody questioned it, and it's only because people were scared to. And then we have this guy sticking his nose out. That's, you know, member of what they would say the big three. And he's proven that the culture feels him. He has, like, I can keep on being repetitive on this. He has a home, you know. It's not taken away from Drake as an artist. It's not taken away from what he contributed to the game. When it's all said and done, he'll be mentioned with the greats. But when we decipher these two, it's a big difference culturally. Yes.
MJ with the super chat says, when is this quote unquote culture? Where is this quote unquote culture when Nas dropped Magic and KD3? Come on, Mike. We have no culture. The culture supports the gossip and name calling. Well, I mean, listen, I think the culture is the grassroots at this point. And I think that, you know, we as the grassroots were very vocal about the fact that KD3, classic material, Magic, classic material, from an MC who's been in the game 30 plus years and did it at 50 years old and dropped 6 quality albums in 4 years. It's unprecedented. I mean, Nas is the greatest MC of all time. I think that he should have got more mainstream love. And when I say mainstream love, it's because he is a mainstream artist, whether, you know, us to the core love him on a different level. I really blame New York radio, Hot 97 specifically, for not supporting an album like KD3. I think that's it's egregious. And I don't want to hear any conversations from people who are on those platforms about older MCs and what's the problem with that. The problem is when our great MCs or our classic MCs are making new material, you don't support it. And you don't go out there and play records that you would have played from them 20 years ago. Like if Nas would have made Get Light in 2002, it would have got played on Hot 97. He makes Get Light in 2022, whenever, yeah, it's 2022, and it doesn't get played on Hot 97. It's insane, and it's political, and we already know that you guys aren't about the music. So, I mean, they playing themselves when it comes to that.
I mean,
I want to ask you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
No, proceed. You got it.
I was going to ask you, how does your era view Drake? You said he's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. How do people in your era of hip hop view Drake? He top 10, top 5?
Some people will put Drake in their top 5. Like,
what has that changed now? Has that changed now after
No, I don't think it changed because I feel like he's already solidified. The only thing that I wish came out of their beef similar that I when I look at Drake and Kendrick, what I wanted out of this beef was the same thing I got out of the Nas and Jay beef, and that's just good music. They both delivered great albums. You got the Blueprint one, you got Stillmatic. So yeah, we got good beef songs, but what I'm looking for is the great music that comes afterwards. Between this Drake and Kendrick stuff. And right now, I'm still looking. Where's it at? We're still riding off Not Like Us. I want to see what the good music that is there that follows.
Well, I guess we got to stay tuned for that on Drake's end. Now, I will say this, and I said,
I want to see it on both ends.
Yeah, I think Kendrick's done. I think that at this point, even if Drake responds, Kendrick doesn't have to say anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty much done at this point. But I will say this: Drake did step it up when it came to Family Matters. I think Family Matters is hard. I listen to Family Matters still. I think he was caught off balance when Kendrick came with Meet the Grams directly after that, and hours later came with Not Like Us. I think it was a mistake to go out there and put out the Heart. What was it, Part 6 or whatever? That was a mistake. I think if there was any time to chill out, it was that moment. Let Not Like Us ride and let people feel like, okay, well, he's working on something or something like that. I will say this, the difference between Jay and Nas, and I do think both of those guys were trying to destroy each other. I think Kendrick's really trying to destroy Drake on a different level. I think that both Jay and Nas understood that their opponent was so formidable that there was a level of respect there. I don't see any level of respect from Kendrick when it comes to Drake. I think he's been wanting to destroy Drake for a minute, and we're talking about somebody who takes 6-year breaks between albums. He dropped 4 songs in 4 days. That is so uncharacteristic of him. He waited for this moment. He wanted this moment. And when you look at even like that, he egged this moment on. Like, he wanted this. And he made Drake feel like he started something that he wasn't going to finish. But then he finished it when Drake wasn't, when Drake least expected it. And so I think that's the main difference between this. It's a total annihilation at this point. I hope Drake I think him making this a formidable situation, that's over. I don't know what he can do to balance this out. I think that
I know exactly what he could do.
Go ahead. I want to hear
Make good music, bro. Give us solid. If you're going to continue to do music, give us good music and not this microwavable stuff. Just give us good music. I always say a turnaround to an artist's career is one hit away. But for Drake, we know he has the ability to make a hit. He's one of the best.
What kind of hit does he need to make, though? Because right now, a lot of the hits that he's done won't work with this culture vulture moniker on him. He can't go out there and do. He can't go out there and do no New Orleans bounce. What was that he did? It was a Scorpion single.
He needs a great album, and I think that will be the thing. But for me personally, what I'm saying, he needs to take a break. Put some time into other endeavors, But that's what I'm saying, and then come out with a fire album. Album. I'm talking about. I don't give us 10 to 12 songs, no skips.
Yeah.
Give us
no features. What do you think about features?
I don't have a problem with features if it makes sense. Don't give me a feature because you're trying to put on somebody who's hot to try to get their audience. Like, I want to hear a feature that makes sense, like for Drake, because we've seen the people he's went and collaborated with, and at the time of where those artists were in their careers as well. And that's minus the up and comers that he kind of brought to the forefront with him featuring on there. I'm talking about, like, we've seen you collab with Future. We've seen you collab with 21. We've seen you grab them, Lil Baby. We've seen you or Dirt. We've seen you work with them at the height of their careers. Give me features that make sense. Give me a great album, a great project. And I think that'll put you back in the conversation. Well, he's not ever going to be out the conversation in this generation.
Where do you have him? Let me ask you that. Where do you have him?
Man,
what's your top 5?
I'm so biased. Drake is not in my top 5, and it's not a shot to him.
That's
it's just
not biased.
He's not in my top 5 artists, because some people who I'll even put in my top 10 or top 5 is other people that they probably wouldn't. So my top 5, well, I'm always going to say Jay is my favorite artist of all time. Jay, I'll have to give it to Pac. I'll have to give it to Big. I'll give it to Nas. I'll give it to Wayne. Who is that?
That's 5.
That's 5.
Okay, yeah, Drake's not passing those guys. Is Drake top 15 for you or
top 15? Yes.
15? Okay.
Yes.
Laura Vinci with the super chat says Drake's culture is Jewish people are just practicing cognitive distances. Well, I mean, I think that's great advice and that's great insight. I do think he needs to take a break. I do think he needs to come with quality music. I think that this 100 gigs, I don't believe that it was really leaked. I think it was leaked by him just to see if the streets were still rocking with him. And
checking the temperature.
And to your point, it kind of showed you that people didn't care.
Like I said, his core is gonna care. His core is not going anywhere. His core has proven he can put out subpar music and people will still hype it up to be whatever it is. But
this is what I'll say about his core, not to interrupt you. His core, I don't really know what his core is anymore. Maybe you could say women, maybe you could say, but as far as hip hop fans, I think his core is kind of fickle because his core is gonna go with whatever the hip hop streets are saying. If you don't, in my personal opinion, if you don't have the hip hop streets as a core in the hip hop genre, your core is shaky because the streets pretty much determine what's gonna really fly in hip hop. Now, you could be a crossover person and you can rely without the streets for a minute, but after a while, hip hop's gonna move on to something else. You get your numbers and all that stuff, but if you don't have the streets as a core, I think Eminem is seeing that now. Like,
but does it matter for Eminem in his career now? No.
Numbers wise, no, but legacy wise, yes. He's never going to be viewed from a legacy standpoint in this hip hop culture where some of the people that you mentioned are viewed, because he doesn't have that part as the core. You need that part as
my biggest indictment on M is that his stuff doesn't appeal to the mainstream or even the hip hop casual fans, because if you break down the Eminem album, that's not necessarily rap for me. I love M. I was a big M fan, but when I go back and listen to that music now and say, can I process it the same? No. And I think one of the biggest things from M is technically he can wrap circles around people. We can't take that away from him. But culturally, his music, I don't know another artist I can get away saying the type of stuff that M said. And I think the biggest thing that we have to, say as a point to that is that he's white. A black rapper wouldn't have been able to talk about killing their mom, raping her, killing his girl, the type of stuff that he was saying. I mean, like, we could also talk about how big of a lyrical artist he is, but let's think about these quote unquote beefs he had. Pop singers, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. Like, when have we really seen you go toe to toe? I mean, your beef with cannabis.
Saying these things is making me so happy, man. I've said these things for a long time.
Wasn't relevant. Yeah, you got a job, but that wasn't really your beef. And Benzino is like, yeah, we know he's not matched with you lyrically. So it's like, yeah, he's technical as far as rapping ability. Yes, he could rap people under the table. One of the biggest artists, yes, but the streets are not him.
He wanted no smoke with the game. And it's so funny. Whenever Game went out there and did what he did, you know what? Game, everything the Game gets criticized for, Eminem does in spades. The name dropping, any of the Slim Shady records, is super name dropping. Whether it's Marilyn Manson, whether it's Usher, whether it's Limp Bizkit, or Fred Durst rather, whether it's Carson Daly, whether it's Christina Aguilera, NSYNC, he's name dropping all the time. He's starting beefs with people for nothing. But when Game did that with him, he ain't got no legitimate beef. Or when Game, and that's why when Game said he's the Black Slim Shady, to me, it's so poetic because he's right. he's putting on this character and would do the same exact thing that this person did, but when he does it, oh, it's whack.
Here's
I ain't like this.
Here's a good argument because I'm fans of both. I love M and I love Game. I would just tell somebody this: go back and listen to Game's catalog and listen to Eminem's catalog and tell me which one is more bearable today.
Let's be real, man.
Game has a great catalog, and I
Game's a better rapper than Eminem. I don't give a fuck. I'll say it right here on this platform. Game's a better rapper than Eminem.
Technically, I don't think like rapping ability. I don't think he's a better rapper than M. But
what does that mean?
Better catalog than M.
What does that mean, though? I mean, because I will say this: when Game first came out, the documentary, you could tell that he was new at this rap thing and he didn't have it all together. But over the years, Game has improved immensely. Like, Game right now is fluid with it. Pause, right? Like, that 300 bars and running, Game's way more battle tested than Eminem. Game even shoved Eminem on the Black Slim Shady. Eminem is scared to say anything to the Game. He'll call out Melly Mel. He'll call out Benzino by name, but he will not say anything to Game. MJ with Super Chat. Go ahead. Oh yeah, Super Chat says Drake did For All the Dogs Scary Hours edition with 6 pure hip hop beats, and those were his lowest streaming songs. Mike, if you're A&R, would you advise him to make pure hip hop albums? I agree with that. I probably wouldn't. But see, this is the thing. For Eminem and Drake and Nicki, I'll throw her in this too. If you make a conscious decision to chase a pop audience, you can't complain about the fact that you ain't getting praise in hip hop. You made your decision. You chase that pop audience. Go get your numbers. You're not going to be ranked in these top 10s. You're not.
That's a great argument that I make about Nicki too, because I say when you slice the demo of what their music appeals to, it's not majority hip hop.
No, it's not. But so don't sit here and complain because you ain't on this hip hop list.
Yeah. So when we start making those debates, when people are saying that they don't deserve to be in the top hip hop category as top 5, top 10, that's an argument that could be made. Hey, you guys, the majority of your audience is not hip hop fans.
Exactly. And that's all I've ever said about Eminem and his fan base. I never said it's because, his color of his skin and I ain't feeling his shit. His shit didn't get played on hip-hop radio stations and hip-hop outlets by hip-hop DJs. He's just a guy who raps well, but caters his music to a pop audience. Now, when it comes to Interscope and That Machine, they made the right decision. We have this artist that's going to appeal to what's going on with this rock rap at the time when Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach at the time, Kid Rock, the Marilyn Manson crowd, let's sell him to them. That's great. Do your thing. But we're not going to do this 10 years later and sit here and say that he was in the same arena as Jay, DMX, and Nas in that era. And most definitely, no, you were getting played on a whole different platform. And so your platform is over there. We'll compare you to what those guys did number-wise and, legacy-wise. Don't come back over after the fact and say, oh, well, he top 5 in hip-hop. How? You ain't even got a record to get played on hip-hop radio.
If we want to start putting people on the top based off their rapping ability, then you guys should start giving Tech Nine his flowers.
Yeah, or, we got there's nobody who has better rapping ability than Black Thought.
Yeah.
If we want to just talk about straight-up technical rhyming, there's nobody better than Black Thought. I don't think there's anybody that we know on the mainstream and shit, even on the underground level, who could pick up a mic right next to Black Thought and out-rap him. I don't think that person exists. And that includes my favorite MCs like Rakim, Nas, whatever. If we're going to straight up bar work, I'm going to go with Black Thought.
And the thing that I could say, like I say, rapping ability, Eminem's phenomenal. Eminem, Pentapad, or even like with his creativity, even if it's not the most that appeals to Black culture hip hop wise, we have to give him credit for his ability as a rapper. But when you
say he's phenomenal lyrically like that, what songs do we point to? See the evidence.
Man, I look at like I said, my favorite album from M is the Eminem Show. I think he got busy on the Eminem Show. Soldier, Till I Collapse. We're talking about what was it? Say Goodbye to Hollywood. Like the Eminem Show is a great album. as far as him aiming to be a hip hop album, but there's a lot of BS in between Eminem albums too. There's I like Marshall Mathers LP when I was a teenager. I just love that he was saying wild shit. I'm 33 years old. When I hear that stuff now, it's kind of like it doesn't resonate with me. Like it was a shock factor with Eminem. But when we really break it down, am I bobbing my head? Am I saying, oh man, this got some good replay value? No, but I can go back and listen to some Game albums because Game, you know, he gave us a documentary and people were like, oh, well, that's basically a 50 album. He had so many hands in the pot helping that. Well, what about his second album? You know, The Doctor's Advocate. What about LAX? You know, what about, you know what I'm saying? What about his independent work? Like M
1992 fucking
you know, documentary 2 was slept on about how good of like decent of album that was.
Documentary 2, 2.5. Obviously Jesus Pieces.
Yeah, I love this piece. That came out when I was in college. So yeah, you know, when I look at the discography of, you know, a Game versus an M, I'm like, I know there's a lot of faithful M fans, but when we break down the music, Game has better music than M. Sonically, he has better music than M.
He's been in better battles too. And Eminem is yet to respond in the Game. It's been like, what, 2 years?
He's not. And if it is, it's a line, it's not, because, you
know why? Because Game ain't going to stop, and he knows that. And Game is a formidable opponent. When you look at the people that, you know, Eminem, and I only say this because the narrative for a long time has been like, nobody want to see Eminem in a battle, blah, blah, blah. He picks his battles, like you say, like Benzino. He'll respond to MGK, even though it took him a while to do that, and I think he actually lost that one. He'll respond to Mariah Carey. But when somebody like the Game jumps up, he even responded to Melly Mel, because he knows that Melly Mel's style and his flow doesn't translate in the modern era. That's safe. But when Game comes up here, you ain't gonna say nothing to him.
I mean, there's a lot of rappers that's not gonna say anything to Game just based off the fact of the Game culture that follows the whole LA thing and Game. Just based off that, a lot of people are not gonna say. But one thing you made a point.
Wax though, because Rick Ross didn't respond to Game either. Like Game is the real boogeyman out here,
and he's not going to. And that's what I'm saying. But when we really slice it, I mean, Game is one of those people that people are battle tested. Because man, you stood the test of time with a beef with arguably one of the hottest artists of that time frame, and that's 50. There's only so many people that were able to kind of like, oh man, 50 don't have him up against the ropes. And Game was doubling down. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole movement, like he was doubling down, and he was able to deliver classics of a catalog of music without that Dre cosign, really, because you know
Dre left him alone. As he said, he's Aftermath's runaway slave. I think that is so apropos. He is, and he's the guy who's gonna go out there and say a lot of things that other people won't, and he knows information from the inside, and they don't say anything to him. 50 trolls everybody. He doesn't troll the Game.
And at first, when I seen Game and he's stepping in, he's beefing with Ross and he goes at M, I was looking at it like, okay, he got another album coming. All right. Because it's like he just want to insert himself and stuff. But I'm like, well, and
everybody does that.
Calls you out. And my homeboy said this. When somebody calls you out, when do you pick and choose who you don't want to respond to? I mean, we see Ross and 50 still every once in a while say stuff about it every once in a while, but why did you feel like you were too big to pick back the Game? And my homeboy had to say that, because at first I was like, man, I won't respond to him either. But then I was like, nah, you have enough energy for 50 who's not actively making music.
Yeah.
Why would you respond back to Game? That's a good question. You know,
and it's not like Game ain't sold no records. It's not like he's some artist on the come up. He has, like you said, a great catalog. He's a formidable guy. He's been in these battles with some of the best. And he sold records. So what's your excuse for not battling this guy? And he's already put it out there. This is going to stay on wax. It ain't got nothing to do with no, smack DVD type stuff. And nobody wants it with him on wax. There's a lot about him.
Yeah, I mean, Game, we got to start giving Game his credit for his catalog. even his consistency, you know, we have to start putting that out there. I mean,
His
Game,
ability to get better and better over the years as well.
yes.
And his competitiveness, man. Like,
yeah, I think the only thing that keeps Game from being mentioned in that conversation is like interviews and some of his antics. You know, it rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and I feel like that's why they don't put him in that conversation. And then you don't really see him align with anything West Coast as far as other artists a lot. We seen there was a time period when like Kendrick first dropped, and he passed him the torch, and all of them was around there. But like, let's see, the pop-up Game's not around. When there's a lot of big West Coast moments, the Super Bowl Game's not around. Like,
I think I have something to say about that. Not to interrupt you. I think people are afraid of having Game around because he's off the grid. They don't know what he's going to say. And I think that kind of trickles down to the fact that people don't really pick him up for features. He has a lot of features on his stuff, but people don't have Game on for a feature because they don't know what this nigga's going to say. You know what I mean? And like you said, they don't have him at these places because they don't know what he's going to do. They don't know what he's going to say. He's off the grid when it comes to that. He's kind of like a major independent artist in that sense. And I don't think there's anything more hip hop than that.
Like, yeah, I mean, Game is one of those people that have shown that the older you get, he still doesn't give a damn about who says what or whatever. But I do think he makes a lot of contradictory statements and interviews that come back and bite him in the ass. Like you go and Drink Champs and you say Kanye did more for me than what Dre did my whole career. You'll say stuff like that, or you say you good with Ye, and then you leak a song of you talking about sleeping with Kim Kardashian. Like there is some things with Game that's questionable as far as character that that are consistent to where I think it takes away from people putting him up there. He does a lot of things that makes people dislike him, but musically, he's in the conversation. I think people need to give him more love for his catalog because I think if we match it against a lot of people, there's not a lot of people that could say they have a catalog as him.
The Game can't be denied. All right, man. I appreciate you being on, man. We're about to wrap it up real quick, man. Everybody thumbs up in the chat. I think this is a great conversation. I mean, we kind of cover everything, but yeah, man, we got to do this again for sure. Yes, sir. Appreciate that. And like I said, like and subscribe, everybody. You know, so you want to leave the people with something before we get up out of here?
Yeah, you guys could follow me on IG, Jashad904. That's JASHAAD904. Tap in with me. I'm here. Holla at me. I respond too. So, you know, just get at me and let's talk.
Let's do it. All right, man. Let's do this again, bro.
All right, bro.